Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing Kurt Vonnegut's novel, The Sirens of Titan. Talk very briefly about the author, go into a spoiler-free overview of the plot, talk about what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, who I'd recommend the book to, and finish off with what I will be reading for next time. Kurt Vonnegut's one of the most well-known authors of the 20th century. His book, Slaughterhouse-Five, was listed on one of the top 100 books of all time by Time magazine, novels of all time. So he's also was a fairly prolific author. He's also known for Cat's Cradle is another one of his kind of really well-known books. I'd read both of those before reading this one years ago when I was in college. I read Slaughterhouse-Five, I believe, for a banned books class because of that book's depiction of sexuality and violence. It is often banned in school libraries. So I had a little bit of sense of what Kurt Vonnegut was about from those. Stylistically, those books share a lot in common with this one, which I'll go into in a little bit. But The Sirens of Titan is actually a little bit difficult to describe, so I'll try my best. It's set in kind of a future. The book, I think, originally came out in the late 50s. So the book is set in kind of a future where the world's richest man is kind of brought into... I'll back up. This may be an easier way to explain it. In the future, there's an astronaut who basically becomes, which is kind of common in a later Kurt Vonnegut, unstuck in time in a way. Basically, he can materialize and dematerialize every 59 days on Earth. What happened was he was in a spaceship and he hit a patch of space and his body was basically spread throughout the universe. And he, just due to the Earth's rotations, he becomes fully in flesh every 59 days on Earth. The rest of the time, he's no longer there. In that every 59 days, he has basically an hour where he materializes and can speak to people. He lives in a mansion in Connecticut, and once this is kind of known by people, his house becomes almost kind of a religious site to some degree. People have pilgrimages there, and he refuses to basically see anybody but his wife and his servant. Early on in the novel, we learn that he has requested the attention of the world's richest man, whose name is, I think it's Malachi Constant. And from there, through a bunch of twists and turns, Malachi basically becomes involved in a plot for people on Mars to come and invade the Earth. And it gets kind of stranger from there. I'll also say an important part is the man, I think his name is Rumsford, who's the astronaut who can kind of materialize and dematerialize, or does dematerialize and materialize. He is able to see into the future through this incident. So he has kind of prophetic abilities. So the plot is kind of bizarre, and I think really the purpose of the book, in my opinion, and I think what Vonnegut does well, is he really attacks big themes. So you have kind of like some of his themes you'll see in other books. Themes like war is in the book. Themes like fate and destiny. Things like luck. Does it exist? How much of a part does it play in our lives? Things like whether or not we as people can kind of learn to be better. So there's that. If you're someone who likes your fiction with a large dose of kind of absurdism and really weighing in on heavy topics, the book definitely does those things. What is real, what is fake? That's another theme in the book. Truth versus lies is kind of a theme. So there's some really big themes in there. That's really, for me, kind of where the book ends as far as things that I enjoyed. I think that some of those are really weighty topics and really worthy of discussion and introspection. I just felt like the book was, to compare Vonnegut to an author that I like a lot, Thomas Pynchon. They both have kind of absurdist streaks in their writing. I think Thomas Pynchon usually does it as a source of comedy, and I think Vonnegut does it as a source of anger almost. And at the heart of a lot of his stuff, it feels angry. And maybe he had a reason to be angry from what I've read of his background. He was involved in World War II, and he had a lot of anger in his life towards organized religion. He was, from what I've understood, to be a very strong, stringent atheist, and I think that kind of comes through in his writing in a big way. The problem I have with him is more of, I think at the heart of his story, there's so much hand-wavy as far as human emotions, the question of would humans actually do this in this situation. And I think that his way of looking things is just so bizarre and counter to my experience in life that it's hard for me to take the book seriously in a lot of ways. Slaughterhouse-Five, the horrors of war have kind of long been documented, so I have less problem with that book. But this book in particular, there's just a lot of just mean-spiritedness in the book. And there's kind of questions as to why that exists. There's questions of why people act the way they do in this book. And just a lot of that stuff. I think there are emotional moments in the book. There's a moment on the planet Mercury that I found surprising and touching. But I felt like those were kind of few and far between. And I definitely felt like it was a slog to get through, and I didn't particularly enjoy it. So that's the Sirens of Titan. I think if you like Kurt Vonnegut and you are a big fan of his, and he seems to be, from what I've gathered, people either really love his stuff or really kind of bounce off it hard. I may be one of the rare people in between where I like some of it, but I've never felt the need to kind of review all of his works. I've heard people basically plow through Kurt Vonnegut because he's like their guy. And so I would say if you're someone who's interested in Vonnegut, a lot of the themes he talks about here, he does return to in later works. This is in some ways a kind of, feels a little bit like a workout for kind of larger, better written, better plotted, more interesting stuff for the way I feel about it. Those are my feelings on it. So that's the Sirens of Titan. I think that if you're a fan or want to check him out, if you want to check out his stuff if you haven't read it before, I actually would recommend Slaughterhouse-Five, and I would recommend Cat's Cradle. Those are the two that I would check out. I did find Cat's Cradle enjoyable. My recollection of it, it's been a while. And Slaughterhouse-Five, I think he's on the top 100 books of all time list for a reason. I think that really kind of does... Basically, it was written in, I think, the 50s and 60s. I think it was published, I think, sometime in the 60s. And I think it's still one of the kind of the best depiction of PTSD that we really have in book form. So I would check those out before checking out the Sirens of Titan. If you like those, maybe check this out after that. But I just found the book, like I said, kind of it felt mean-spirited at times. I didn't ultimately know what Vonnegut's trying to say about certain things. If he does have sympathy for some of his characters, he puts a lot of his characters through the ringer in a lot of ways, in ways that I found kind of discomforting. There's points in the plot where things are not really explained super well. There's things that the physics of it are very hand-wavy, so if those things all bother you, it may be a difficult book to get through. You really just have to accept it. I think have to accept Kurt Vonnegut's humor for the sense of humor, the kind of absurd nature of just like, there's this thing that's funny to me, and if it's not funny to you, I'm not going to explain the joke to you. You just have to accept this as funny and move on. And I had a really hard time with that in the book where there are parts of it, like I said before, where characters are just treated really, really badly, and it's not quite clear why they're treated so badly, and that may be part of Kurt Vonnegut's commentary on the nature of fate in the universe. I'm not really sure. So that's Kurt Vonnegut's The Sirens of Titan. If you have read this book and really enjoyed it, I would really be interested in hearing from you. It may just be one of those things where I bounced off it hard, but a lot of people have fans of it from it. And from what I see on Goodreads, I looked at it just to see what the rating of it was. It was actually rated relatively high. So again, I don't know if that's just people who are big Kurt Vonnegut fans coming in and showering it with love. And I don't know. It felt a little head scratchy to me. So next time I'm going to be reading something different. Dodgers by Bill Beverly. Until next time, please feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll have my link to the Twitter account below if you want to check that out. Until next time, bye.